3 knocks. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., 3 slow knocks from inside his closet. And then nothing. Silence so heavy it pressed against Ion's chest like a fist. He told himself it was pipes. Old wood settling in the cold. He told himself a lot of things in those first 2 weeks, and he was very good at believing them. The apartment was new to him, a third-floor unit in a building that smelled faintly of damp plaster and old cooking. He'd taken it furnished in a hurry after the breakup, and he hadn't asked enough questions. The closet sat along the south wall of his bedroom, a sliding door with a cheap aluminum track that never quite closed flush. He kept meaning to fix it. He never did. The knocking started on his 4th night there, 3 beats, evenly spaced, like someone counting out a rhythm. He sat up in bed and stared at the gap in the door. Nothing. He checked the closet, pushed through his hanging shirts, pressed his hand flat against the back wall. Cold plaster, solid and still. He went back to sleep with the lamp on, and didn't mention it to anyone. By the 2nd week, it had become almost routine. The knock would come, his eyes would open, he'd stare at the ceiling until his heart slowed down, and eventually morning would arrive. Routine is how people survive things they don't understand. But on the night of the 17th day, the knocking didn't stop. 3 knocks, and then 3 more, then 4, then a continuous, frantic series of impacts that shook the door in its track and woke Ion out of a dead sleep, gasping. He grabbed his phone off the nightstand, hands shaking so badly he almost dropped it. The room was dark, the closet was rattling, and then it shifted, from knocking to something else, scratching, long, dragging scratches, fingernail slow, moving down the inside of the door from top to bottom, like something feeling its way down in the dark, like something that had been waiting a very long time and had finally run out of patience. Ion pressed himself against the headboard and hit record on his phone without even deciding to. His hands moved before his brain did. Then the singing began. It came low at first, barely above a whisper. A bridal song he half recognized from weddings he'd attended as a child. The melody was familiar, but the voice was wrong, wet and broken, the notes sliding apart like something caught in a throat that no longer worked correctly. It sang the same phrase over and over, just those few words, cycling, never finishing the verse. Ion did not move. He did not breathe. He held his phone toward the closet and recorded 11 minutes of it before the singing stopped and the room went completely, absolutely silent. He didn't sleep again that night. In the morning, sitting in full daylight with coffee going cold on the table, he played the recording back. The singing was there, faint but unmistakable, the same looping melody, the same fractured voice, but underneath it, threading through every second of the audio, was something the room had hidden from him. Wet, rhythmic chewing sounds, slow and deliberate, like something eating with great care, and beneath even that, almost too low to hear, a woman crying, not sobbing, just crying steadily, quietly, the way people cry when they've been doing it so long they've forgotten there's any other way to breathe. Ion sent the audio to no one. He packed a bag and sat by the front door for 40 minutes, ready to leave. Then he unpacked the bag and went to work, and told himself the recording was just interference, just the building's old pipes singing in the walls. He was very good at believing things. He went back that night, because he always went back. The closet door was open when he came home. Not all the way, just a few inches. The aluminum track pulled slightly out of alignment, as if something had leaned against it from the inside with great, slow pressure. Ion stood in the doorway of his apartment for a long time. Then he walked to the bedroom, reached out, and slid the closet door shut. His fingers were ice. He was still awake at 2:17 a.m. when the door burst open. Not a bang, a slow, forceful slide, the track screeching as it gave way, the door swinging wide and hard and final. The darkness inside the closet was absolute for one moment. Then something moved in it. Something began to come out. She crawled. That was the only word for it. She crawled, dragging herself forward on her forearms across the floor, the wedding dress spreading out behind her like a dark stain. The dress had been white once. It wasn't anymore. The fabric clung to her in patches, soaked through with something that had long since dried dark and cracked. Her veil was tangled in her hair, which hung loose and matted, and as she pulled herself toward the foot of his bed, Ion saw her face. Half of it was gone, not decayed, consumed. The left side had been eaten away with surgical patience, the bone exposed and yellowed, the jaw hanging at an angle that jaws don't hang. The right side still held its shape, a young woman's face, cheek still smooth, one eye still open and dark and looking directly at him, not with rage, not with hunger. Something worse. Recognition. She dragged herself the last few inches toward him. When she opened her mouth, the torn flesh around her jaw stretched and split, and what came out was barely sound, just a breath shaped into words, pushed through a throat that had no right to still be working. "He tried to leave me," she said. Her voice was the voice from the recording, wet, broken, sliding off the notes. She reached up and closed her hand around his ankle. Her grip was cold and absolute, so I wore him instead. The closet behind her was empty. There were no clothes, nothing hanging on the rod, nothing on the floor, nothing left of whoever had lived here before Ion, whoever had been in that closet when she crawled in. Nothing left at all, just the dark, and the dress, and the slow sound of her breathing, patient and even, as though she had all the time in the world, as though she had already decided she wasn't leaving alone.